Spinosaurus is unlike any other dinosaur ever discovered. For decades, it defied expectations. Too strange for land, too large for the water. And yet, its fossils tell the quiet story of a predator shaped not for dusty plains or dense forests, but for the shimmering waterways of prehistoric North Africa. This creature, with its crocodile-like snout, conical teeth, and towering sail, is one of the most mysterious predators in Earth's history. It swam, it stalked, it thrived where rivers met deltas and wetlands spilled into coastal seas. It lived not by overpowering its prey on land, but by quietly adapting to a semi-aquatic life, evolving traits no other large theropod ever developed. In this documentary, we will explore Spinosaurus through the lens of science and time. How it was born, how it grew, how it hunted, survived, and vanished. If you enjoy calm, research-based dinosaur documentaries, we invite you to subscribe. Leave a comment with the next species you'd like us to explore. Now, let us begin with the quiet, ancient moment where life began for Spinosaurus. Millions of years ago, during the late Cretaceous, the vast river systems of what is now North Africa were filled with life. The land was humid and warm, rivers twisted through wetlands and shallow lakes. Sandbars formed where currents slowed, and on these muddy banks, beneath palm-like plants and scattered vegetation, nests were built. Somewhere within this complex ecosystem, a female Spinosaurus laid her eggs. Though we have not yet discovered a confirmed Spinosaurus nest, fossil evidence from closely related theropods, as well as crocodile-forms and large archosaurs of the region, offers clues about how such a nest may have looked. It would likely have been a low, circular depression scraped into the soft ground, hidden among dense foliage near the water's edge. Here, the eggs were carefully placed in a shallow ring, covered lightly with sand or vegetation for insulation and protection. Each egg may have measured around 20 to 25 centimeters in length. They would have been elongated, not spherical, with hardened shells. In the quiet humidity of the wetland environment, these eggs incubated in warmth, from both the sun and possibly from the heat of decomposing plant matter. Whether the adult remained nearby is still uncertain. Parental care among large theropods is a matter of debate, though some fossil evidence suggests that at least partial guarding may have occurred. Inside each egg, a developing Spinosaurus embryo grew steadily. It began as a cluster of cells, dividing and forming structures. Limbs extended, a tail lengthened, vertebrae fused. The snout, long and narrow, began to take shape. Its jaws were already beginning to form tiny conical teeth, ideal not for slicing but for gripping slippery prey. The egg provided everything it needed: nutrients, oxygen exchange, protection, and slowly, the embryo grew into something that resembled a miniature version of its adult form. When the time came, the hatchlings would have emerged with effort, likely using a specialized egg tooth on their snouts to break through the shell. This tooth would fall off soon after birth, but it served one vital purpose: to escape the egg. What hatched was not a giant, it was a small, featherless creature, likely no more than half a meter in length, light-bodied and vulnerable. Its bones were soft, its balance uncertain. It was a survivor of the first challenge: birth. The hatchling's body already bore the signature traits of Spinosaurus: an elongated skull with a distinct kink near the front of the snout, nostrils positioned far back on the head, allowing it to breathe while most of its snout stayed submerged. Its neck was long, flexible, and lightly built. Its tail, though not yet fully formed, would one day become paddle-like and capable of powerful propulsion in water. The sail on its back, formed by extended neural spines, was present at birth only as low ridges. It would grow with age, its purpose still a subject of discussion among paleontologists. It may have been used for display, thermoregulation, or species recognition. But in these early moments, it was merely a soft trace of what would come. The young Spinosaurus likely stayed close to the water. Small fish and invertebrates would have been early prey. Its limbs, while still short, were already suited for a semi-aquatic lifestyle. Its feet may have been partially webbed, an adaptation hinted at by fossil morphology. This made the shallow streams and ponds a safer haven than open land. But safety was relative. Other predators roamed these environments. Large crocodile-forms like Sarcosuchus, as well as other theropods such as carcharodontosaurs, may have posed a threat. The hatchlings had to stay hidden, relying on mud, reeds, and shallow water to avoid detection. Their senses, even at birth, were likely sharp. Vision and smell were important. The skull structure suggests strong olfactory capability and forward-facing eyes, both useful for locating prey and detecting danger. The first weeks of life were filled with risk. Floods could sweep nests away. Predators could attack. Food might be scarce, but some would survive. Those that did would begin a slow, steady journey toward adulthood, guided by the instincts shaped through millions of years of evolution. Though the fossil record rarely preserves these fragile early stages, every adult Spinosaurus that once hunted along ancient rivers began this way. Tiny, uncertain, and quiet. Brought into a world of water, light, and shadows. Shaped not for dry ground or towering roars, but for the fluid silence of swamps and streams. These beginnings were not dramatic, they were delicate. But they set the foundation for one of the most unusual lives in all of dinosaur history. Now that we've seen how Spinosaurus began its life along the edges of ancient rivers, let us now talk about how it grew, survived, and adapted to this water-shaped world. Spinosaurus did not grow gradually. It grew fast, reshaping its body year by year into something uniquely suited to water. From the small, vulnerable hatchling that broke free from its egg, it would eventually become the largest known theropod dinosaur. But the path to that immense size was marked by distinct stages of transformation. Shaped by both biological programming and the environment it lived in, growth in dinosaurs was rarely linear. In Spinosaurus, this growth appears to have been rapid and uneven, based on fossil bone histology. Juvenile bones show evidence of fast deposition rates. New layers formed quickly, especially in long bones such as the femur and humerus, suggesting periods of intense physical development during early life. The Spinosaurus needed to reach a certain size to escape predation. In a world filled with large predators, including crocodile-like reptiles and rival theropods, size offered protection. The early juvenile likely stayed near shallow waters, its body still light and agile. As it grew, its limbs began to shift in proportion. Its forelimbs, already long for a theropod, became more robust. These limbs were not for flight or grappling. They ended in strong claws, possibly used to grip prey or assist in locomotion along muddy banks. The hind limbs, by contrast, were relatively short for its body size. This is one of the traits that puzzled paleontologists. In most large theropods, hind limbs are long and muscular, optimized for land-based running. In Spinosaurus, the proportions tell a different story. By the time it reached adolescence, Spinosaurus was developing more aquatic features. Its bones became denser. This is known as osteosclerosis, a condition in which bone material fills in internal cavities, making the bones heavier. In aquatic animals, denser bones reduce buoyancy, allowing them to remain submerged more easily. Spinosaurus fossils show these traits clearly, particularly in the limb bones and ribs. This suggests a lifestyle increasingly centered around water. The Spinosaurus was no longer simply visiting the riverbanks. It was spending much of its life in or near water, likely hunting within the currents and resting along shallow deltas. As the juvenile aged, its tail began to elongate and widen. In 2020, fossil discoveries revealed a new shape for the Spinosaurus tail. Rather than a tapered, whip-like appendage, it was tall and flat with long neural spines extending vertically. This paddle-like structure was likely used for swimming. Muscles along the base of the tail could have flexed it side to side, propelling the animal through water in a manner similar to crocodilians or modern aquatic reptiles. This tail was not an afterthought. It was a central tool for aquatic movement. The sail on its back also grew dramatically during this period. Formed by elongated neural spines extending from the vertebrae, the sail could reach over 6 feet in height. Its exact function is debated. Some theories suggest it was used for display, signaling to other individuals during mating or territorial disputes. Others propose it helped regulate body temperature by absorbing or dissipating heat. Some paleontologists even consider it a hydrodynamic structure, possibly assisting in stability while swimming. Whatever its use, the sail became one of Spinosaurus's defining features as it matured. Its skull also changed. The long, narrow snout became more elongated. The tip housed small, forward-pointing teeth, ideal for catching fish. Inside the jaws, pressure sensors may have lined the upper surface, allowing it to detect movement in the water. This is an adaptation seen in modern crocodiles and alligators. These changes were not superficial. They were part of a consistent shift toward life as a semi-aquatic predator. Spinosaurus was no longer adapted for fast pursuit on land. Instead, it relied on stealth, precision, and aquatic ambush. Living in river systems, it likely followed the seasonal pulse of water. During flood seasons, it would have had access to wider hunting grounds, including floodplains and shallow basins teeming with fish. In drier months, it may have retreated to deeper channels or areas where water remained trapped in the landscape. This shifting environment required flexibility. Spinosaurus had the traits to adapt. It could move on land when necessary, though likely awkwardly compared to other theropods. Its short legs, long body, and massive sail would have made fast running difficult. But in the water, these traits became strengths. Despite its size, Spinosaurus was likely solitary. There is no fossil evidence of herding or pack behavior. Its large territory would have been shaped by access to water and prey. Juveniles may have stayed near quieter inlets, while adults patrolled larger channels and deltas. As it grew, it would have learned to navigate these environments with care. Hunting, avoiding conflict, resting in concealment, all of this required experience. Growth was not only physical, it was behavioral. Each year brought new challenges: floods, droughts, injuries, and competition. Disease may have played a role in the lives of these animals as well. Bone pathologies in theropods show signs of infection, healing fractures, and possible congenital deformities. While none have been conclusively identified in Spinosaurus, it is likely that similar issues occurred: a large body, active lifestyle, and exposure to aquatic parasites or bacterial infections would have made illness a periodic concern. Only the strongest survived into full maturity. Adulthood, Spinosaurus stood apart. It was longer than Tyrannosaurus rex, though not as heavily built. It could reach up to 15 meters in length. Its mass is still debated, but estimates suggest between 6 to 8 tons. Fully grown, it was no longer vulnerable. Few animals in its ecosystem could challenge it directly. Its environment, however, could still test it. Shifting rivers, changing coastlines, and ecological competition continued to shape its behavior. The rivers of Cretaceous North Africa were full of life. In addition to Spinosaurus, they hosted fish species such as coelacanths and sawfish, as well as large turtles and crocodile-like predators. Other theropods also lived nearby. This meant that as Spinosaurus grew, it was not only learning how to swim and hunt, but how to coexist with other large animals. Avoiding unnecessary conflict was likely just as important as capturing prey. Juvenile Spinosaurus may have occasionally clashed with older individuals. Intraspecific competition, especially over territory or mates, is common in modern reptiles and birds. There is little direct fossil evidence for this in Spinosaurus. But scratch marks, healed wounds, or bite traces on bones from other theropods suggest similar behaviors occurred. The growing animal needed to navigate social boundaries carefully. All of these elements, anatomy, habitat, behavior, and adaptation, were part of the journey from hatchling to apex predator. Spinosaurus did not grow into a land-dwelling hunter. It grew into something more specialized. It became a creature of deltas and channels, a swimmer with the body of a sail-backed predator, a dinosaur designed not for speed or brute force, but for balance, patience, and control in the ever-changing waterlands. Now that we've learned how Spinosaurus survived the challenges of its changing environment and grew into a powerful aquatic hunter, let us now talk about how it hunted, fed, and thrived in the rivers it called home. Spinosaurus did not feed like other theropods, where many of its relatives evolved to chase prey on land or tear through flesh with curved teeth. Spinosaurus followed a different path. Its body, teeth, skull, and tail suggest a diet focused on aquatic prey, shaped by the shallow rivers and tidal channels of North Africa. The first clues come from the skull. Spinosaurus had a long, narrow snout, more similar to that of a crocodile than to a typical theropod. The jaws were elongated, lined with straight, conical teeth that lacked serrations. These teeth were not designed to slice. Instead, they were built to grip. Conical teeth are ideal for holding slippery prey like fish, unlike knife-like teeth seen in predators such as Allosaurus or Tyrannosaurus. Spinosaurus used its jaws to clamp down and hold, not to shred. Toward the front of the snout, the jaws widened slightly into a rosette-like shape. This expansion allowed for a stronger bite at the tip, increasing the chances of catching fast-moving fish. Similar adaptations are seen in modern fish-eating reptiles. Behind the rosette, the upper jaw contains small pits positioned above the tooth row. These pits are believed to have housed pressure-sensitive receptors. In modern crocodilians, such receptors help detect water vibrations made by nearby prey. Their presence in Spinosaurus suggests that it, too, could sense movement in water, making it a patient and precise hunter. The placement of the nostrils also supports an aquatic feeding style, rather than being at the tip of the snout. The nostrils in Spinosaurus were located farther back, closer to the eyes. This position would allow Spinosaurus to keep most of its snout submerged, while still being able to breathe. It could stalk prey from just below the surface, breathing quietly while its jaws hovered beneath the waterline. Spinosaurus likely relied on stealth rather than speed. The aquatic prey it targeted included large fish, such as coelacanths, lungfish, and sawfish, all of which swam in the same river systems. These fish were strong and agile, but not impossible to catch. Spinosaurus may have positioned itself near riverbanks, shallows, or submerged logs, waiting for the right moment to strike. The tail played a central role in this hunting strategy. The tail of Spinosaurus was tall, flat, and flexible. It was lined with elongated neural spines, giving it a paddle-like shape. This tail allowed Spinosaurus to swim with side-to-side motions, similar to modern crocodiles. Unlike most theropods that relied on their legs for locomotion, Spinosaurus used its tail for propulsion in water. This allowed it to approach prey with minimal surface disturbance. The body of Spinosaurus was well suited to submerged stalking. Its dense bones helped it stay underwater without floating. Its long torso provided balance and control, while its hind limbs were short compared to other large theropods. They were strong enough to maneuver along riverbeds and shallow channels. These proportions suggest that Spinosaurus may have hunted both in deep and shallow water, adjusting its technique depending on the environment. In shallower areas, Spinosaurus could have used its forelimbs to help trap prey. Its arms were muscular and ended in strong curved claws. While not primarily used for capturing food, these claws could have assisted in cornering or stabilizing prey against the riverbed. Alternatively, the claws may have played a secondary role, used to hold larger struggling prey once it was caught in the jaws. Some researchers have proposed that Spinosaurus may have practiced shoreline fishing. In this model, Spinosaurus would wade into the water or stand at the edge, lowering its snout beneath the surface to detect prey. Once it located a target, it could lunge forward, using its tail to drive its body ahead in a rapid burst. This technique would require balance, timing, and sensitivity to movement. All of these traits are supported by the physical features of Spinosaurus. The environment played a significant role in shaping this behavior. The region where Spinosaurus lived was a vast floodplain, intersected by tidal rivers and seasonal streams. These wetlands supported a rich diversity of aquatic life. Seasonal flooding likely brought in schools of fish, while retreating waters created isolated pools where prey became concentrated. Spinosaurus could take advantage of both. During floods, it had access to wide hunting grounds. During droughts, it could exploit stranded prey in drying pools. Scavenging may have also been part of its diet, while Spinosaurus was clearly adapted for hunting live fish. It may have also fed on carcasses it found along the shore. Floating or stranded animals, including fish or even smaller dinosaurs, could have been consumed when opportunities arose. The strong jaws and gripping teeth of Spinosaurus would have been capable of handling decomposing prey as well as fresh kills. There is also evidence to suggest that Spinosaurus may not have been exclusively piscivorous. While fish likely made up the majority of its diet, Spinosaurus may have occasionally hunted or scavenged other animals, including small to mid-sized dinosaurs or pterosaurs. The strength of its bite, combined with its size, would have allowed it to overpower terrestrial prey if needed. Though this was probably not its main feeding strategy, isotopic analysis of Spinosaurus teeth provides further support for its aquatic diet. Studies of oxygen isotopes in tooth enamel have shown values consistent with animals that spend much of their lives in water. These values are closer to those found in aquatic reptiles and amphibians than in land-dwelling dinosaurs. This strongly supports the idea that Spinosaurus did not simply visit water to drink or cool off. It lived in water, and its feeding behavior was shaped by it. Tooth wear patterns also support its fish-based diet. Unlike the heavily worn teeth of meat-slicing theropods, Spinosaurus teeth show patterns consistent with gripping and holding. Many teeth have shallow wear marks and smooth surfaces, suggesting repeated contact with soft-bodied prey rather than hard bones. This pattern aligns with a diet of fish and aquatic invertebrates. The spacing of teeth along the jaw was also adapted for this feeding style. The front teeth were larger and more closely packed, ideal for seizing prey, while the teeth toward the back were slightly smaller and spaced more widely, allowing for secure holding during consumption. This arrangement made it easier to catch and swallow prey whole rather than tearing it apart. Spinosaurus may have used its body as a physical barrier in water. When cornering schools of fish in shallows or narrow inlets, it could have used its sail to create shadows or visual blocks, disrupting the escape routes of prey. This behavior is speculative, but possible given the size and shape of the sail. In some modern aquatic birds and reptiles, similar body features are used in passive hunting strategies. The feeding behavior of Spinosaurus reflects a deep specialization. It was not simply a dinosaur that happened to eat fish. It was built for it. Snout, teeth, tail, and even its bone density were adapted to a lifestyle centered around water and aquatic prey. This placed Spinosaurus in a unique ecological niche. It did not compete directly with other large theropods, because it hunted in a different way and in a different space. Spinosaurus was part of a broader food web that included fish, crocodilians, turtles, and other carnivorous dinosaurs. By focusing on aquatic prey, Spinosaurus avoided competition and maximized its success in the wetlands. Its feeding techniques were not aggressive or fast-paced. They were controlled and deliberate. Spinosaurus did not need to chase. It needed to wait, to listen, and to strike with precision. The slow, methodical style of hunting matched the rhythm of the waterlands. In these quiet rivers, Spinosaurus moved not with force, but with purpose. Its body did not shout. It whispered, a shadow under the surface, a ripple near the reeds, then a sudden burst of motion, and the prey was gone. Now that we've explored how Spinosaurus fed within its river-based ecosystem, let us now talk about how it lived alongside others of its kind, and what its mating and social life may have looked like. The social life of Spinosaurus is one of the least understood aspects of its biology. Unlike its bones, which fossilize under the right conditions, behavior leaves behind few traces. Yet through comparisons with other theropods, subtle fossil clues, and modern analogs, it is possible to build a calm and reasoned picture of how Spinosaurus may have reproduced and interacted with others of its kind. Spinosaurus was a solitary predator for much of its life. Most large theropods are believed to have lived and hunted alone, and no fossil site has yet revealed evidence of a Spinosaurus group, such as a bone bed containing multiple individuals together. This suggests that outside of mating season, Spinosaurus likely maintained a solitary lifestyle, patrolling riverbanks and wetlands alone. When mating season arrived, the landscape would have changed. Across modern reptilian species, reproductive behavior often involves visual or auditory displays, scent marking, and territorial contests. In Spinosaurus, the most prominent candidate for a visual display structure is the sail. Towering above the spine, this elongated fin was likely used for more than balance or thermoregulation. Its height, surface area, and visibility made it a natural candidate for attracting mates or intimidating rivals. Coloration does not fossilize well, but in modern birds and reptiles, males often display brighter or more varied pigmentation during mating periods. Spinosaurus may have exhibited similar seasonal changes in skin tone or sail pattern, helping individuals signal their reproductive status. A taller, wider sail would be more visible across wetlands, especially in open areas near water, where reflections and movement could further highlight it. Territorial behavior may have played a role in mating as well. During breeding season, Spinosaurus likely expanded or reinforced territorial boundaries. These boundaries would have followed rivers, floodplains, or seasonal pools. Males may have displayed their size by arching their backs, swaying their tails, or holding still in water with their sail raised above the surface. Conflict may have been avoided through such displays, but if challenged, physical contests could have occurred. There is no confirmed fossil evidence of intraspecific combat in Spinosaurus. But scars, bite marks, or pathologies in other theropods suggest that such behavior was possible. Vocalization is harder to determine. The structure of the skull does not offer clear evidence of complex sound production. However, many modern reptiles produce low-frequency sounds for communication. Spinosaurus may have used deep vocalizations or subsonic rumbles to signal its presence, particularly across water, where such sounds travel more effectively. These signals could have helped mates locate each other or served to warn rivals from a distance. Once mating pairs found each other, courtship behavior may have included slow movement, positioning, or synchronized displays. Such behaviors are common in birds and reptiles. Spinosaurus retained any of these ancestral traits. Its courtship would have been quiet, deliberate, and likely visual. There is no evidence for long-term pairing, so it is probable that after mating, the two individuals separated. Reproduction likely followed a pattern similar to that of other large theropods. Spinosaurus was oviparous, meaning it laid eggs. However, no Spinosaurus nest has been conclusively discovered. Still, there are fossilized nests from related species, including other spinosaurids and large theropods. That suggests nesting behavior involves scraping shallow pits or mounds in soft sediment, often near water. These nests were likely dug into sand or silt, near stable banks or elevated patches above seasonal floods. The eggs themselves were likely large, possibly elongated, and laid in clutches. The number of eggs per clutch remains unknown. Based on related species, clutches may have contained between 10 and 20 eggs, though this is speculative. The eggs would have been buried or covered with vegetation to retain warmth and moisture. In floodplain environments, this covering could have helped insulate the nest against changes in temperature and prevent desiccation. Parental care in Spinosaurus is not confirmed, but studies of other theropods suggest a range of possibilities. In some species, evidence points to adults guarding nests or remaining nearby during incubation. In others, there is little sign of post-laying interaction. If Spinosaurus did engage in nest guarding, it may have remained close to the site, using its body and sail to shield the clutch from heat or predators. Aquatic nesting sites may have offered some protection, but also posed challenges from rising water levels or scavengers. Once hatched, young Spinosaurus individuals were likely independent within a short time. Their early growth stages show rapid development, meaning that juveniles would have needed to begin feeding soon after hatching. The rivers and shallow pools around the nest could have provided a nursery of sorts, offering both food and shelter. Juveniles may have stayed in these areas while they learned to swim, stalk, and avoid threats. Social interactions between juveniles are unknown. Some modern reptiles' young remain near each other for a brief period before dispersing. If multiple eggs hatched at once, small groups of young Spinosaurus may have shared early hunting grounds. However, without evidence of group nesting or cooperative care, these early social bonds, if they existed, were likely brief. As juveniles matured, encounters with other individuals may have become increasingly rare. The wetlands of North Africa during the Cretaceous were vast, and Spinosaurus likely spread out to reduce competition. Encounters between adults may have been limited to mating season or territorial disputes. These interactions, while infrequent, shaped the reproductive success of the species. Mating behavior in Spinosaurus reflects a quiet, ritualized pattern, rather than dramatic chases or complex vocalizations. It likely relied on visual signals, body posture, and spatial awareness. Its environment, shaped by water and shifting seasons, provided both challenges and opportunities for reproduction. The sail, the skull shape, and even nesting behavior all point toward a species that communicated and reproduced in calm, calculated ways. Now that we've reflected on how Spinosaurus may have reproduced and interacted with others of its kind, let us now explore the end of its time and what its extinction reveals about the changing world it left behind. The world of Spinosaurus did not end in a single moment. There was no final roar, no sudden silence. Instead, like many ancient lineages, Spinosaurus slowly faded as its environment changed beyond recognition. Its disappearance, while still wrapped in uncertainty, echoes the greater story of extinction, reminding us that dominance is never permanent in nature. Spinosaurus thrived during the late Cretaceous period about 100 to 93 million years ago. Its ecosystem stretched across what is now North Africa, a region that was once lush with rivers, floodplains, and sprawling wetlands. But over time, this wet world began to shift, as plate tectonics altered land masses and sea levels changed. The stable water-based environment that had shaped Spinosaurus' success began to decline. Paleogeographic reconstructions show that during the Cenomanian age, large parts of northern Africa were covered by shallow inland seas and complex river systems. These aquatic landscapes provided the fish-rich habitat that Spinosaurus was so perfectly adapted to exploit. However, by the Turonian and into the later stages of the Cretaceous, these systems changed dramatically. Inland seas began to retreat. Rivers dried or were replaced by more arid environments. The very systems that supported Spinosaurus' feeding and reproduction became fragmented and unstable. This gradual drying would have had a profound effect. As rivers narrowed or disappeared, fish populations declined or moved elsewhere. The prey that Spinosaurus relied upon may have become harder to find. With fewer aquatic resources and a changing climate, Spinosaurus' narrow ecological niche may have left it with limited options. Unlike some generalist predators that can adapt their behavior or shift their diet, Spinosaurus was highly specialized. Its long snout, paddle-like tail, and heavy water-adapted bones were perfect for a semi-aquatic life. But these same traits may have made it less capable of surviving in a more terrestrial or drier environment. As the wetlands gave way to forests, plains, or deserts, Spinosaurus may have found itself increasingly out of place. There is no fossil evidence that Spinosaurus survived into the very end of the Cretaceous period. The last known remains date back to around 93 million years ago, well before the mass extinction event that wiped out non-avian dinosaurs 66 million years ago. This means Spinosaurus likely disappeared due to environmental pressures long before the asteroid impacted the KPG boundary. Still, its legacy did not vanish with it. In the centuries since its bones were first discovered, Spinosaurus has grown into one of the most studied and debated dinosaurs in paleontology. Its fossils have been central to discussions about dinosaur locomotion, feeding behavior, and habitat use. Each new discovery has helped reshape our understanding not only of Spinosaurus, but of how dinosaurs adapted to their environments. The idea of a large, fish-hunting, semi-aquatic theropod challenged long-held assumptions. For decades, dinosaurs were viewed as land-based creatures, with few exceptions. Spinosaurus expanded that view. Its bones quietly told a story that no one expected. A predator that waded, swam, and hunted like a crocodile. A dinosaur that belonged not to the forests or the hills, but to the water. Its disappearance reminds us that specialization is powerful, but fragile. In a stable environment, Spinosaurus thrived. In a shifting one, it had no clear place to go. Nature rewards adaptation, but also demands flexibility. The story of Spinosaurus is not one of failure, but of the risks that come with mastery of a single way of life. Today, the fossils of Spinosaurus lie scattered across ancient riverbeds in Morocco and Egypt. Some are displayed in museums, others studied in quiet laboratories. Together, they form a legacy not just of a single dinosaur, but of evolution's endless variety. Spinosaurus stood apart from its peers. It walked a different path, and in doing so, it left behind a lasting mark on our understanding of what dinosaurs could be. Now that we've seen how the world of Spinosaurus gradually faded, let us now explore how its remains were uncovered, studied, and debated, and how this long-lost predator has quietly shaped the science of paleontology. The story of Spinosaurus did not end with its extinction. In many ways, it began anew when fragments of its skeleton emerged from beneath the sands of North Africa. Piece by piece, across more than a century of discovery, debate, and reconstruction. The legacy of Spinosaurus has taken shape not as a complete image, but as a quiet puzzle still being solved. The first remains of Spinosaurus were uncovered in Egypt in 1912 by German paleontologist Ernst Stromer. These fossils included parts of the skull, vertebrae, ribs, and the tall neural spines that would later define its silhouette. Stromer's team excavated the bones from the Bahariya Formation, a region rich in late Cretaceous fossils. His description in 1915 introduced the world to a new kind of theropod, one that did not fit neatly into existing categories. The name Spinosaurus aegyptiacus means spined lizard from Egypt, a direct reference to its most striking feature. But Stromer could only speculate about what the entire animal looked like. The fossil material was fragmentary, and paleontology at the time had limited comparative data for such a unique specimen. Tragically, the original fossils were destroyed during World War II, when the museum housing them in Munich was bombed in 1944. For decades afterward, Spinosaurus remained a mystery. No new complete skeletons were found, and without the original bones. Researchers relied on Stromer's drawings and notes to guide their understanding. In the early 2000s, that began to change. Fossil hunters in Morocco uncovered new bones that closely matched Stromer's descriptions. Among them was a partial skeleton that included elements of the skull, jaw, and sail. This specimen revived interest in Spinosaurus and led to a major revaluation of its body plan. The bones showed clear signs of aquatic adaptation. In 2014, a team led by Neitzer Ibrahim published findings that challenged conventional views. They proposed that Spinosaurus was not a land-dominant predator, but a semi-aquatic hunter. With a long, low body and a center of mass shifted forward, the study drew global attention, reigniting debate about how Spinosaurus looked and lived. Then, in 2020, further discoveries added a missing piece: its tail. Previously unknown, the tail of Spinosaurus proved to be broad, tall, and flexible, ideal for swimming. This finding confirmed that Spinosaurus used its tail for propulsion, not merely for balance. The tail structure resembled that of aquatic vertebrates like newts or eels more than other dinosaurs. It cemented the idea that Spinosaurus was a river predator, not a land chaser. Still, questions remain. Spinosaurus fossils are notoriously incomplete. Many bones come from different individuals, and not all were found in the same location. Reconstructing the skeleton involves careful comparison, scaling, and estimation. There is still no complete articulated Spinosaurus skeleton. What we know comes from combining scattered fragments and educated inference. Despite these gaps, Spinosaurus has become one of the most iconic and controversial dinosaurs in paleontology. Its changing image from a vague carnivore with a sail to a swimming specialist has captured both scientific and public imagination. Few dinosaurs have undergone such dramatic reinterpretation. The fossil record also highlights how much of Spinosaurus's history lies beneath our feet, still buried. The Kemkem beds of Morocco, where many Spinosaurus fossils have been found, continue to yield new discoveries. These rocks preserve a diverse ecosystem filled with crocodilians, fish, pterosaurs, and other theropods. Spinosaurus was not alone, and every bone helps place it more clearly within that complex world. Paleontology is a science of patience. It advances one discovery at a time, shaped by weather, chance, and careful work. The story of Spinosaurus reflects this pace. Over 100 years after its discovery, we still do not have all the answers. Yet the questions it raises about adaptation, diversity, and the unknown are as important as the answers themselves. In museums across the world, you can now see casts or reconstructions of Spinosaurus. Some stand upright, others swim forward, suspended in glass. These displays invite viewers to consider the quiet reality behind the fossil, that this dinosaur lived, fed, and vanished long before any human arrived. That its bones, once buried in river mud, now speak across time. Spinosaurus reminds us that even in extinction, life leaves echoes. Not every dinosaur roared across dry plains. Some moved slowly through water. Some waited, listened, and watched. And some, like Spinosaurus, left behind a mystery that continues to grow. As scientists unearth more evidence, as each fossil is cleaned and cataloged, the image of Spinosaurus becomes clearer, not just as a species, but as a symbol of how science unfolds quietly, slowly, and always with the potential for surprise.